Hi, Curious Dude here. I'm giving a quick update today about, what really makes a Volkswagen Campmobile. What are all the pieces and parts that make it unique and considered a camper? So come along with me and let's take a tour. As you know, this is Van Gogh 74 Campmobile, and this is a Campmobile Deluxe, which has some kind of unique features not found on all transporter Campmobiles. At least this is a Canadian spec Campmobile. Or North American spec. It may be different in other parts of the world, but let's talk a little bit about what makes it kind of unique and special in terms of, a transporter or a bay window. So one of the first features that's unique to a Campmobile, before we get into the details that make it a camper, are the paneling actually. So the paneling in the inside, the walls, is insulated, and very importantly, the ceiling. And so there is a small amount of insulation that is actually in the ceiling and all the panels, including the doors as well. So it's one of the features, I guess it's a finished feature you could say, that's added to a Campmobile. Secondly is the carpeting. So the carpeting is actually a loop. It's considered a loop pile floor. Now in this camper, these are actually original floors. And if we look up front too, you'll see that's, it's very faded and damaged, and the midway carpet between the front and back is also loop pile. So that's something that's not common in, of course, in all transporters. Third is curtains, which is sort of iconic, right, to a camper. You've got, in this case, they're orange. These are factory curtains, and they're all the windows. In fact, the sides, the back, and there's even a curtain actually for the front windshield. So when you're out camping, you can completely cover it off, and it actually surprisingly does a pretty great job at that. There's a windscreen actually that goes in the back, and it buttons in. So if you have the hatch open, it's like a bug screen, I guess you call it, sort of keep you safe from any of the critters that might be bothering you. Campers also have louvered windows on the sides, so that's a louvered window there. And then the bay window door also has a louver. They're also called Jalousie windows, and they have a small crank. And so once you crank them, and we'll do this one over here just because we're here. What you do is, if we go clockwise, eventually, there we go, they'll crank out, and they're screened, and it moves a lot of air, actually. These are a really nice feature, really moves a lot of air. So we'll shut that one back up. But that's another feature that you could only obviously get in the Campmobile feature. It has a 12-volt light up there. That's a fluorescent tube, which was probably state of the art in 1974. This one sometimes works, in fact, in this one. I think it's true with all bays, but they have a sliding door. That's a common feature. I don't think you could get a double sliding door in a bay window, but certainly campers had a sliding door. It's a big piece of it. The thing that makes it unique, and now we start to talk about, what's specific to campers. It gets with the camping gear, which is, obvious. Now this is a different kind of model. So you can see the signage, right? This is a Westfalia Campmobile, and there's a few other areas we see that. So this cabinetry is pretty common between most Westfalias, even older ones. And the newer bay windows, like I think is at 75/6, they do away with this entire unit and everything's set on the wall. So this is kind of an older look. So the first thing is in the bottom here is that a standard camper or Campmobile would come with an ice box. This is not an ice box. This is actually a refrigerator, which is a higher end model, which I'll talk about in a moment. But they would have come with an ice box or a fridge like this, and it might have a tray up at the top where you would put your ice, literally to keep it cold, like you'd expect an ice box. It would also have a utensil drawer. So this drawer here, obviously intended for utensils. That's something that's common in all of them. All the campers would have this side piece. I think it's called a grocery shelf, and it has a fold-out table, which is sort of an iconic thing, right? So looks great, and it's kind of it's sort of a quintessential thing that's found in Volkswagens. Even the old models, like in the split window, they still have that feature. That was a thing. Having a sink. So that sink, it's important to note that it's located behind the driver's seat. This is something unique to a deluxe model Campmobile. So normally in a standard camper, it would be parked right here. this area here, which is something different in a Deluxe. But you got a stainless steel sink, and in this case, there's the water tank that's stored underneath there, 7.5 gallons, quite a bit. That's, you know, loosen that, that's your fill. And that's where that all kind of stays place. There's also a storage compartment in this one. Again, we'll talk about what makes it kind of unique here in a minute, but there's a storage compartment back here. So not a lot of room, but there's a bit of space so you can stay things there. And there's another storage compartment down there, which I'll show you here in just a second. So this storage compartment's really unique because it's quite big. But you'll notice there's a bunch of cabling. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute when we talk about the power access, but that's a unique thing too. And yeah, there's also a unique piece in here, which I've done in previous videos. This is actually an inflator, and it's a Coleman inflator. So this is intended to, you know, to add air, obviously, to your tires. But this particular model would have come with a space saver spare, which I'll shoot a little bit of video for you too. And it actually would normally fit in there. Well, of course, it has a full bench. So that bench is, you know, about 5 feet wide. It's quite wide, and it doubles, of course, it converts into a bed. So when we put this up and we pull it out, it'll rock down into a bed. So this will turn into a bed. It's a little awkward to do with one hand, but we'll give it a yank. And there we go. It turns into a full-length bed, which, I mean, is kind of one of the cool features, right? You can sleep right down in here. And to lock it up, you just rock it up. Okay, there we go. I had to do it less. It's hard to do one-handed. Anyways, flips right back, so you have a full bed. So the other thing, which you could notice, is there's a storage area in here. Now I have a bunch of junk. There's actually that orange thing's the front curtain. I've got some heater bottles, you know, wiring map, that kind of thing. And then in here, there's actually, in this model, has a spare battery, auxiliary battery, and it has a power converter there that takes, you know, 110 to 12 volt to run some things, which we'll share with you in a second too. There's a jump seat, so we'll put that there. That's a, you know, kind of an iconic thing. It's a jump seat. It's also a stool that you can be used, and that, of course, is a table that slides in and out. Go together. So I showed you, but it pops up, and there's a leg that comes down here. There's a clamp there for it. Comes out. And there's actually a slot in the ground here in the floor to actually screw it into. I won't do that entirely. Like that. And that's your little dinette table. And in this model, obviously, you know, and then this slides out, gives you a little bit of additional space. So you can put it out, and, you know, could serve a second person here if you were sitting over here. I suppose you could have a third person sitting in the jump seat. If this was not a Deluxe model, right here would actually be a seat as well, which is kind of a different look. So. And to collapse it, we do the same in reverse, unscrew it, collapse the telescopic rod, and it locks in here. And there's a little catch on the bottom there that coincides with this, so that when you latch it, it's held in place. Works great. The other thing you'll notice is down there, there's 2 power outlets. So those outlets are connected to the shore power on the outside, which you can plug in when you're camping. So yeah, adds some features for sure. So looking to the back, you'll find that some Westfalias across the top will actually have a, what do they call it? A ceiling cabinet, I believe. Now this model doesn't have a ceiling cabinet, and actually never came with one. But at the back there, it does have what's considered a linen closet. So let's take a little look at that. So the linen closet, as you can see, it has a little wardrobe. It has a little hanging area there, so you can hang some things up. Not overly, large, but pretty functional space for sure. So that's really all there is to see in the back of the Westfalia. Now, something that's sort of unique to campers to show you is you'll see these little hooks. There's 4 of them. There's one there, there's one in the driver's side pillar, and you'll find that there's a couple in the back, kind of swinging around here. There's one hiding here, and there's another one on the other side. So that actually holds a child hammock. Now, I don't have the original one for this vehicle, but 2 metal bars connect between each side of these like this, and there's actually a canvas hammock that kind of sits on here. They call it a child hammock. You could put your luggage on there. It gives you a storage place, or literally a small child, of up to whatever, 60 or 70 pounds, could actually probably sleep in there. Also, of course, this vehicle comes with seat belts, both sides, and then there are seat belts underneath here too. You may be able to see them down in there. I don't have them obviously hooked up, but there are 1, 2, 3. So there's enough there to lap belt in at least 3 people. Also a jump seat. We talked about that stool and that jump seat. And that kind of talks to you about the general layout of what makes this a Campmobile. But this is not just a regular Campmobile, because this of course is the iconic pop-top Campmobile. So apparently you could get a Campmobile in a tin top version without the pop top, but the pop top, right, is what people kind of associate with being, a Westfalia camper, and it's what makes it really give that kind of unique look. So so the pop top is certainly something considered a higher option. So you could get this with a pop top, and also it contains in the top, it actually has a luggage rack on the top too. So the luggage rack here has some tie downs in it, and you access it from when this is open, you can get out into it. So the canvas in this has 3 windows that are all screened in. Now, this specific model is actually the highest end camper you could have. So it's called a Deluxe Campmobile. So what makes it, quote, Deluxe? Well, it has some extra add-ons. So remember that I mentioned there's an ice box? This is not an ice box, that is a refrigerator. So it is a refrigerator that runs on electricity only. And so it actually runs on 12 volt. And so kind of cool, right in here, there's actually a switch down here where you can convert it, that red switch, and then the switch above it. The red switch is for power for temperature, and then you can have it on 110 or 12 volt. And so right now it's standard on 12 volts. So anytime I'm driving, if I had it turned on, then there's 12 volt power going there, and it actually works, which is amazing to me. The other thing that's kind of extra special about a Deluxe, at least with an option, is you get this option here too, right? So you got a camp stove, this original camp stove, and it's propane, it's natural gas. So to fire it up, right, there's that tank that's down below. So I think it holds about maybe 3 pounds, 4 pounds, 5 pounds, I'm not sure. When I got this, actually, there was still propane in it. I didn't try it. The lines are suspect, and so I would be a little nervous about trying it, but there's no reason to not expect that that works. So that's a kind of unique thing. The other thing, because it has that power, is there's a piece of metal trim up here, which is unique, right? Because that's necessary just to deflect a bit of heat away from the wood up there. So if you're ever looking at one that doesn't have that, or it's missing, it's kind of a big piece. It tells you what it originally might have come with. So that's that piece. Because it has a stove, and it's actually considered a motor coach or a motor home, it has to come with this mandatory fire extinguisher, which if you look in the manual, this is the original one, and it's probably never, I don't think it's left here a lot. It's still pretty heavy, so I think it's still full. So it has a dry chemical thing. You'll notice this is Canadian spec bus, but you can say it's certified motor home, pumping gas, electrical, etc. It has certain standards that, that obviously Canada had in place. And the other thing that's really kind of unique about the fancy model camper is it has this seat in between the seats. And, sorry, it pops up this way. It's like a storage compartment. And in here it's got, this little insulated tray. I don't think this is actually the correct original tray. If you look in dealer manuals, you'll see that it almost seems like there was a small area with a circular hole that you could use this for trash or for, let's say, personal waste, Let's put it that way. So again, you wouldn't want to travel with someone in there, but it's a neat space if you had some, you know, drinks in there, or you use it as a trash compactor or whatever you might have. So there you go. It gives you a little taste of, I know, what is unique and special about a camper that turns it, you know, about a transporter that turns it into, you know, the iconic kind of camper. There you go. So maybe we should talk about the pop top, right? Because that's the big thing. That's what kind of signifies. That's what you think of when you think of a Westfalia or camper. So we'll just close some of this up and let's talk about how we pop that. So, okay. So first thing, it's actually really simple to pop the top. There's a couple of clasps. So we're going to deal with that first. There's a clasp there and a clasp there that are holding this canvas piece from falling forward. So we'll just undo those. There's one. Next one. Okay. And on each side, there's a clamp, metal clamp. You have to usually pull down a bit to get it to unhook. There's one here. And the top kind of sprung up a little bit on its own there. So I suppose there's debate about the best way to do this, but there's this metal bar here that's in the support structure. What I normally do is just push with both hands up on this support structure. And if it needs a little extra boost, there's a handle here, which you kind of use to pull down at the end, but you can also use it to pull up. So I'll just put it on the tripod and I'll show you how easy it is to do. So like I said, clasps, unclip those, and then you grab this center bar, and generally you can just give it a push and up it goes just like that. And I mean, there you go, right? That iconic look. You can see it's 3 panels. There's zippered panels with screens. And inside, whoa, you know, like I'm standing up, you can unzip those to get out. The sides unzip. These are new. So zippers are a little bit more sticky. Lets lots of air in. And up here, of course, is a very important feature, and that's a full double bed. And so this first half actually folds over, and there you go. Enough for 2 adults, reasonably, probably just 1, but this is a great space up here. So lots of room up here. And then this just flips back and just scissors back down. And then of course, to use that jump seat, what I would do is I put the jump seat in between there, and this is how you step when you need to get up into here. Works really, really well. All right, the last thing I wanted to talk about was a couple things over here on the side that are kind of a giveaway. So you notice this vent right here with the horse emblem, Westfalia emblem. That's a vent. So that's the vent for the drain for the sink. So because the sink is on this side, the vent is on this side. So that's a kind of a dead giveaway that this is a deluxe or the optional one. And then underneath here, of course, is just the power feed. So you just plug that into 110. The hose is, the cord on it's actually surprisingly long. And so when you plug it in, it gives you power to that receptacle, and you can also use it, of course, to run your fridge if you're, you know, if you're on the grid, so to speak. So that works great. One thing I've never fully understood is this car would have come with a collapsible spare, which, you know, I have, but it also has a full-size spare mounted on the front. I don't know if that's something that's an option on transporters, or if that's something that was automatic with Deluxes, but you know, it's another nice feature. So that's a long tour, but gives you an idea about what are all the special things that are part of a Volkswagen Transporter Campmobile. And again, you've got the 3 layers, right? You get your basic, which would be tin top with your basic camper interior. It would have a jump seat where the sink was in that area, dinette table, ice box, water, spice rack, the bed, no top. Your second option, of course, was the Campmobile with the pop top. That's what we're dealing with there, and it would still have that same interior. And the third edition is the Deluxe Campmobile with all the add-ons. And the only thing this does not have that's original is it's missing the child's cot. And this owner did not buy the optional. There's actually a canopy, like there's like a tent that actually would assemble outside and hook to the side of the camper. They look really cool, but this did not come with that in this specific model. It's just not something that he optioned. So there you go. a tour of what makes a special Campmobile.